So what's up, everybody?
Not much, just trying to send out this correct link now. Hello, TJ.
Hey, guys. Hey, old chap.
I should probably use this time now to go refresh my drink.
Yes, I'm also going to grab mine while people are joining. I will return.
Too bad we couldn't get, like, music in the background. I'd be playing Mirror, Mirror by Candlemass.
I'm apologizing to everyone in advance. I am the sniffle queen today. My allergies have been off the wall, so I'm prepared.
I can give you more. Do you need more?
Yeah, why? There we go. Okay, I got it.
So I don't know, who brought up the subject of mirrors? I can't remember who said it.
I think that was you.
Me?
Well,
Yeah.
he brought it up originally, which gave me the idea, and I added it to my big list, which I sent over like a list of, I think like 7 or 8 different topics. So technically, I mentioned it, but Mike has some actual experience with it.
It's bad.
All right, I'm pumping out the invites now, so people should be hopping on.
So we got TJ and Kristen in the hizzle. So
Up in the
What?
hizzle.
What?
Well, we do have some new people in the chat today who have not joined us before. Feel free to introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Maria.
Oh, okay. Hello, Maria. We
Hi.
do have a pretty decent amount of people here, so Mr. or Mrs. Morbid, would you like to kick us off?
So we thought that mirrors would be an interesting topic, because obviously there's stuff like Bloody Mary that's been floating around for many years. I remember being a little kid at sleepovers, running into the bathroom doing Bloody Mary, and then my friends freaking me out, screaming outside the door, whatever. So good times. But I thought this would be an interesting topic because Mr. Damon, the Rev himself, has an experience about talking to himself in a mirror and something communicating back.
So I think the main thing here is like the picture and the profile. That's a crazy history.
It's one of the most popular legends out there.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to Mary Tudor, the first, the first queen of England, and how rough of a life she had being the son of Henry VIII. And she was disowned, and she had a medical condition that her menstrual cycles and everything was really bad. I forgot what we know what it is now. But, back in the 1500s, they were just like, ah. So she was disowned at one point, but had to sign a decree because Henry VIII was, of course, breaking away from the Catholic Church, breaking away from Rome, and starting the Church of England because, of course, he wanted to divorce his wife, and the Vatican said no. And Henry VIII said, piss off, I'm doing it anyway, so I'll start the Church of England. And so then there was the whole Protestant thing going on, and so blah, 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 et cetera, When Mary finally became Queen of England, she had a lot of supporters, but nobody really knew the life she had truly, and she became a very vindictive woman. And she was a huge devout Catholic, hated the Church of England, the whole concept of it. And, her brother, who when Henry VIII remarried, and one of his marriages, he had a son. He only ruled for like several years, and then he died. And that was when she finally ascended to the throne. And man, she went on a tear, arresting Protestants and just burning them at the stake, torturing people to death.
darn.
So that's how she got the name Bloody Mary. And I don't know how we have the whole Bloody Mary thing in the mirror, but it's just, she was a scary person. So it was like a boogeyman kind of like, a fun game to just, it was Bloody Mary because she was very...
So with on the train of the whole mirror aspect, the legend that I'm familiar with is that she was a very vain person, and she surrounded herself with mirrors because of how she looked. So when all of this happened, that's where her soul got trapped, hypothetically, is the legend. Where I get lost, though, is I've heard many different iterations of what is supposedly supposed to happen when you see her in the mirror, and then the different amounts of how the ritual goes that I've heard. Like, I couldn't even count how many different versions there are. Like, when I was a kid, they're like, oh, you have to say it 7 times with the lights off, turn around and light a match, and then you'll see her. But then, like, I met somebody, and they had a completely different version. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they were saying that it was, some legends say that that they're referring to Mary Queen of Scots. Another one says that it's really Elizabeth Bathory. So they're just picking, like, infamous people back then. But I'm very sure, and a lot of things I've been researching, it was the Queen of England, you know, because of the burnings and the killings and I heard she would really, her condition was, of course, we all know now that stress adds to that condition. It worsens it. So you know she was under a lot of stress, and she just started to age more than she was and just look really just not right. And maybe that was the thing too, was she was just not a good queen to look at. She had a baby sister that was pretty and this and that, and so people were kind of like, oh God, the queen. Oh, people that worked for her would say she's not looking good. She has no eyebrows. She looks haggard. You know, she's gray. So maybe it kind of added to that too. Like, hey, she looks like a witch, or she looks like some kind of monster, like a banshee or something. Who knows?
Another very far-fetched, like very stretched theory that I have heard is that there's some type of correlation between Bloody Mary and the woman in white, who people always talk about seeing like on bridges or like things like that. Have any of you heard about that before?
They always see her on the side of the freeway.
Is that like the jilted, the undead, well, not the undead, but like the ghost of like the jilted bride?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've heard, and again, I say very far-fetched, loosely pieced together theories that they are somehow connected, but I was just curious if anybody else had heard about that.
And the whole thing with mirrors too started with the Romans. You know, they, like the 7-year bad luck thing. They believed that the soul regenerated every 7 years. So to break a mirror meant your next soul regeneration was violated or something. And just weird things involving mirrors. I think it was a good subject.
Weren't there people that used mirrors instead of like pools of water, to use mirrors as an excuse or
to scrying?
Yeah, for scrying. But instead of using a pool of water, they would use a mirror instead.
Yeah, John Dee used black mirrors.
I was just gonna say,
Say that.
Recently, I've seen a lot of people who do the scrying with the black on the mirrors itself.
Well, they paint the back of it black.
Substitute for a scrying pool.
Well, it's a new thing now that like certain witches are actually. It's not the back of the mirror. It's on the glass of the mirror that is being painted black for the scrying purposes.
Wasn't it like polished obsidian? John Dee, that famous astrologer or whatever for one of the queens. I don't know which one it was. Elizabeth.
I'll try to look.
Yeah. He, I think he used black scrying mirrors for sure for divination. Was that called like cataptromancy or something like that? I can't even think of the word. It's something weird like that. I can't. I looked at the word and I'm like, oh.
I just
Alexa,
found
how
some
do you pronounce this?
information. There's a page that has information about his objects, including a necklace, I think. Okay, so if anyone wants to look, I just posted on the page a website that talks about the mystical objects of John Dee. Like it shows the crystal that he used, and these are items that are in a museum in London. So it looks like it provides some general information too. And apparently they had an exhibition back in 2016. Not that any of us are anywhere near London anyway, but so the clawed glass, a device consisting of a black glass mirror stored in a sharkskin case, is what they're talking about. So it sounds like it was actually black glass.
Well, it could have been obsidian. That's the only black glass I can think of.
Or unless they like smoked it and charred it out somehow.
The only thing I could think of that would make black glasses, like they used to have the old electric pieces that were the cobalt blue. Well, a lot of people can just do it by looking at certain pictures and images and see things in it.
Yeah, black glass officially is by adding manganese to glass.
And what is that? Is that like a I don't know what that is.
It's a form of magnesium.
Okay.
Crush up enough one of the vitamins, you might get some.
Yeah. But that's not necessarily the mirrors, but that little item Jen was just talking about was probably made black by manganese.
Okay.
So.
But it's kind of weird that, plus the Victorians are crazy. That's where, they helped kind of push a lot of divination and especially around Halloween, with the whole, if you stare into a mirror and you see a reflection, like a horrible reflection, you're going to die soon, or somebody you know is going to die. It's just all these crazy things they used to do, and it's like, man, you guys need Scrapple really bad.
Victorians made art out of hair, so.
Yeah.
And
And
also
teeth,
picture
right?
their dead kids, so that's, the dead people. It's like, what's wrong with
Creepy age.
So has anyone had any crazy experiences with mirrors?
Not an experience per se, but I know that in Judaism you're supposed to cover mirrors after a person dies because to help them cross over. Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't get trapped in it, as that's what I always heard.
But then there's also a legend that you're supposed to cover the mirror because if a spirit's trapped within the mirror, then it can come out into your room or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a long time I couldn't really be in front of mirrors too long. Back in the late 90s, and this is all part of my experience that we'll do an episode on soon. So how that all started was I started seeing this, after this breakup with one girl, I just didn't have my life together. I just didn't, wasn't in a good job, didn't have my shit together, and things were just, here and there. So I was kind of getting into some, magic here and there, reading the occult and different things. And then I met a person, I don't even know if they're around anymore. So somebody told me to go see this lady in Ohio City called Madame Coco. Never forget that name. It was a lady that practiced all sorts of different things. Voodoo, Santeria, you name it. She did it. And she was a nice lady, and so I went to go see her. And it's funny because she was in a house. She lived behind a business. Like she rented an apartment like behind the building, kind of like it had so you had to cut through the parking lot to get into the back, and that's where she was. And so she was telling me all sorts of weird things. I remember she did something with an egg and whatever she was doing, and this big bubble came out of it. And she goes, somebody has like an evil eye on you. There's people watching you. And I'm like, really? Like, I have no enemies that I know of. I mean, at the time, I didn't really know a lot of people, So to have someone like really like whamming me or something, or at least keeping tabs on me like that, was strange. So she told me how to get past that, and she would help me with it. And she didn't say stupid things like, well, for $100 I can take care of it. She just kind of she walked me through it and stuff, which was cool. But then I remember she was looking at she goes, let me see your hand. So she's looking at my hand, and she starts to tell me things. I forgot. It was so long ago. My brain, booze, cigars, women, my brain got fried, So as she's talking, she's like looking around like she's hearing something. So I'm like, what is this woman doing? Is she like trying to put a show on for me? Or something? And she goes, someone's here. Like she was like totally interrupted. And I said, okay. She goes, he's trying to tell me a name. does Harry ring a bell? Because at first she couldn't say it. She kept like she was trying to make a sound, but she didn't really know, what was going on. So Harry, I'm like, I have no idea. So I said, so the only person I could talk to about stuff like that at the time was my dad. So I asked my dad, I said, hey Dad, I went to see this voodoo lady. I said, divination stuff, fortune telling. We were interrupted by a spirit named Harry. That's all the spirit said. Do you know anybody in the family or somebody close to us that would have had a nickname like that? And my dad said, well, he had a best friend that committed suicide, but they were investigating it as a murder. But nothing ever came of it, and they closed the case. So my dad was not happy with that because that was his best friend.
No, you're fine. I just want you to be careful.
And, my dad says, well, my best friend, who when he was alive, he loved Dirty Harry movies. So maybe it's our friend. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. I'm in a rough spot in my life. Somebody from the other side is kind of watching over me. I was very new to this stuff. I was very new to being knee deep in the occult and knee deep in all this kind of stuff. I was a newbie at it. So I kind of took that and said, okay, well, maybe it is my friend. So I kind of, for some reason, no. So she told me his name is Harry and he visits you through mirrors. That's what she said. So I'm like, what? So I start, for whatever reason, don't ask me why. It's like the people in horror movies. I hear a noise in the basement. I'm going to go down there. You're like, dude, that's stupid. But they're going to do it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start talking into mirrors and see what's going on. Big mistake. Huge. For some reason, and I can't even explain it to this day when I think about it. We're talking, this was like 21 years ago, 20 years ago at least. It was about 20 years ago. I felt drawn to mirrors. Anywhere there was a mirror, I kept feeling drawn to it. And at work, when people would pull into the building, we had parking in the building. Like this section of the building on the first floor was a parking garage that kind of went up a few floors, but it was only on a certain part of the building. On the other side was a locker room where our employees would sometimes go in there and hang out, and there were private bathrooms and lockers for like the security guards. And there was a huge mirror in there. And sometimes I would literally use the bathroom and go in there and start talking to this mirror. It was the worst friggin' thing ever, because what happened later was I met a girl that I later became friends with, but we were kind of like teacher students, kind of, and then we were kind of, doing things and just being stupid. And a friend of hers, she always communicated with a friend of hers who was Native American in Arizona. And her friend in Arizona one day, so she goes, hey, you got a minute? And I'm like, what's up? She goes, my friend in Arizona said she was attacked by a demon. And I'm like, well, what are you telling me this for? She said, she asked me, this is the girl, the medicine woman asking my friend, are you talking to a man with long black hair? And at the time I did. I didn't cut my hair off until 2001. So I still had long black hair. She said, yeah, why? She says, he's haunted by something evil. Something is around him that is bad. And it attacked me. And he was there, but I was suspended in air, like in a comatose state. And the demon told her after he like violated her and beat her up, because she woke up from this dream vomiting. Who wakes up from a nightmare throwing up? So I'm already like this, like what in the hell is going on here? Like what am I hearing here? So she said, the demon was pointing at her saying, you stay away from him because I have plans for him. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm like ready to shit myself, you know? Like, how does this woman even know who I am? This is a woman in Arizona. Don't forget, we didn't have webcams. I mean, you had to be making boku bucks to own a webcam in 2000. You know, it's like, oh, webcams, ooh. So she doesn't know who I am. She described me to a T. She described my house and everything. And I think what it was is she was going, you know, like in your dream, you're like in like a spirit world, and you travel. And she must have unknowingly and unwittingly like kind of traveled to see who I was, and bumped into him, and he attacked her. And so anyway, I won't say his name because I firmly believe that it sends echoes into other places that they're talking about, that you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't want to bring them back into your life.
Right. So, but here's the kicker. I'll let you know only one thing about him. His name began with an H, and it sounded. Now, and then I understood when my friend told me that name, why Madame Coco had a hard time pronouncing it. She couldn't pronounce it. So he said, well, just tell him my name is Harry, just to make it easy. This whole time I thought I was talking to my dad's best friend helping me out. You hear the whole time I'm talking to demons.
Through the mirror.
Through the mirror. And I didn't know why I was doing it. I thought it was therapeutic to have somebody non-judgmental and not going to give it, you know what I'm saying, just somebody to listen to my issue. This person was just playing goody two-shoes just to get at. Then that's when everything really took off. So anyway, now here's the funny thing. So, and I'm going to admit this on the show because I feel like it's really important that I connect that to this story so you guys are like, so a long time ago in the 90s, I had a really rough time with life, really rough. I wasn't like doing drugs. None of that. I was just really angry. I really had a rough time with things. And that is not a good reason to start practicing magic. It is definitely a bad reason to do it. And I don't talk about it much, not because I'm like ashamed of it. It's a lesson learned in life. But, you know, it's the whole thing of coming from a Christian family and, you know, this and that. So I kind of kept it to myself for a long time. But so anyway, the lady that was attacked by this demon asked the demon, "Who are you?" And he said, I'm a servant to a master who, you know, for whatever reason was coming after me. And my friend's Hispanic, so she knows English really well, but there's words that she still doesn't know too well. I said, I can't spell it. I'm like, okay, well, do you know what it's related to? She goes, all I know is they mentioned the name in the Bible. I'm like, well, the only demon they mention by name in the Bible is Leviathan. And she said, that's the name the demon said. How the hell would that woman know that? That was the exact thing, or say thing, that was the part of the ritual I did. And I opened up a huge can of worms. And basically, it was a go big or go home moment. You decided to go big. And now you open a Pandora's box, and now you had a difficult time closing it. So now I had a demon to fight. I fought him for over a year in my house. A year. Plus, to make things worse, the house that I bought was next door to where everything began. I go into the basement and find out the people that lived there before were doing black magic ceremonies in the basement. So I find this pentagram on the wall. I'm like, oh my friggin' God. Are you kidding me? It was like a fuel station for this thing. I mean, it was like shoving me. If you've ever felt something that you can't see shove you, you will like almost lose your mind.
Yeah.
And I was in that kind of mental state. I literally thought I was losing my mind. Luckily for me, I was already on my journey onto a better path in life, spiritually and every other way. It was really disrupting the energy in the house for that thing. But for a long time, like I had to avoid mirrors and I was freaked.
So to clarify, with the mirrors, was this like early in it?
Yeah.
And so like there was not like any, or I guess were there any hints of like malice or aggression, or did you really just think it was just like a person to talk to?
I thought it was just a person to talk to. It was very friendly. I felt good vibes from it.
So there was like at some point a significant change occurred.
It was just I was being tricked, into letting my guard down and allowing it to cross over. I ran into him years later, 6 months ago, Jen. I think I told you. I visited the house and I could hear the demon yelling from inside the house that he wanted to kill me.
Yeah, in a dream, not in person.
Right.
Yeah,
well, if you would have said that in person, I would be like, I'm out. But that all stemmed from Madame Coco telling me something is visiting you through mirrors, and you're talking to him. Ultimately, I overcame my situation, and I've learned a hell of a lot since then. So if any of you guys ever go through some shit like that, definitely I will help any way I can. Because that's something.
Likewise.
Backtracking a little bit, I know we had talked a little bit about the mirror scrying, but somebody had mentioned water scrying. What are our thoughts about water overall? Because that does have a very reflective nature, similar to mirrors.
I mean, with water, this is totally a non-horror reference, but every time I think of the water and the reflection, I go back to Greek mythology with Narcissus, and he died because he drowned himself, because he was staring at himself in the water. So, like, to me personally, that relates to all the mirrors and the dangers of focusing on them. I mean, it's not like super horror related, but all of the things you can probably spawn off of that, that's all I got. So it's like, just anything with reflections, I myself try not, especially with water, I tried not too hard to pay too much attention.
That makes sense to me, though. I have a bit of a fear of water, and I think it's more because I'm not a great swimmer. But yeah, just like if we're driving on a bridge over a big body of water, that really, really freaks me out. Not thinking if it's a reflection thing, but just, hey, I'm not a huge fan of driving over water.
And in general, with growing up in Northeast Ohio, knowing Lake Erie is one of the most dangerous lakes in the world because of how shallow it is. The wind kicks up, boom, ships are taken out like that. Every year we get stories of how many people are lost in Lake Erie, which you don't think is possible because of how small it is, but that's exactly why it's dangerous.
Isn't there stories about like Lake Superior or Lake Michigan or something like that too? Like I watched a YouTube creator called The Mortician, and it's whatever. I like Lake Superior. It never gives up its dead or something like that. Was one of her YouTube episodes. I can't remember if it was Lake Superior or Lake Michigan or something, but that's one topic. It was Lake Superior, but she is a a mortician in California, like a green mortician. She doesn't do embalmings or anything like that. She does green burials and burial shrouds and stuff like that. Her channel is called Ask a Mortician.
I actually think I've heard of Ask a Mortician channel just in my general YouTube lookings.
I love her channel.
Yes, she covers a lot of stuff. And she tries to, like, normalize conversations and stuff like this about plans, and she even has talked about I think it's water cremation. She talks a lot of stuff, and she has a series called Famous Corpses. No, it was called Iconic Corpses, where she goes over like the Romanovs and other notorious dead people. I think she even covered Manson, because no one wanted to take possession of his corpse, or too many people wanted to take possession of his corpse, or something weird like that.
For everybody to keep in the back of their minds, if it hasn't been brought up yet, something to maybe a future conversation is the protectors, feeling of protections. It's like, I'm pretty sure I have something looking over me personally. I have a couple of examples that are, I don't know, maybe in the grand scheme of things, they're minute, but I'm pretty sure I have a protector.
Forgive my ignorance, but is like a protector like a guardian angel?
For me, that's what I consider it. It's not necessarily a guardian angel, but for me, I consider it a guardian angel.
I'll give you an example. This was when I was living with and dating my before she became my first wife. We were, I don't know, I was having one of those meditative moments, and she was talking about her grandmother. And for some reason, when she was talking about her, I could feel her presence. And out of the blue, I just said, no, she goes, my grandma had this thing about pets. Like, she had a favorite pet. And I was like, bird? And the bird was blue. And she just stopped talking and looked at me like Twilight Zone moment, like, what? How did you? I'm like, I don't know. It just kind of came to me. It just thought.
I mean, I don't know. It's like when I was real young, going to the YMCA, swim classes, whatever, I had this one. I just met this girl, actually. We weren't friends yet. We were just talking. She's like, oh, hey, guess what my nickname is? Oh, is it Kiki? Her name was nothing with a K. It was no Catherine, no Kim, nothing. So just out of the blue, I go, oh, it's Kiki. How'd you know that? I think her name was like Emily or something. No idea. This was so long ago. But I think that's one of those moments of, no. Like, somebody just puts it there for you to be like, oh, it's this.
I had an experience like that completely blindsided me, because in my situation, I was talking to one of my exes who is a friend of mine, and his sister and her husband had a kid. I swear, to this day, I still have it as a memory. But we were talking on the phone one day, and I totally thought his sister was pregnant, and I remembered him telling me that his sister was pregnant. I said, hey, when is your sister due? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, they're having a girl named Emily. You told me this like a month ago. He's like, I don't know anything about my sister being pregnant. 2 months go by, and he calls me, and he's like, hey, guess what? My sister is pregnant, and they're going to name her Emily. And I'm just like, that was like the most specific, intense thing that has ever happened to me. Like, that specific. 3 months in total, because like, 2 months before they even knew. I was just like, oh yeah, how's your sister's pregnancy? And he's just like, what? And then they ended up picking the name that I had thought he told me.
I had another instance. I was working out in Idaho for the festival, and I had this insane dream where an ex-boyfriend of mine called me to tell me, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. Okay, cool, I'm happy for you. 1 week later, I get a text from him. We're just casually chatting because we're friends. He's like, oh, by the way, I'm proposing to my girlfriend. I feel like you already told me this, though.
Yeah.
I've had a couple deja vu moments come up, some good, some not so good. So the first deja vu that I had was there was a Cleveland State, go Vikings. I was really anxious about going to college. New environment, yada, yada, yada. And so I was having dreams, oh my gosh. And then a few months later, I went on my first visit to Cleveland State and met with the faculty, met with Doc. Doc and I just clicked like that, and went back, visited the department 3 times. My teacher was saying, Cleveland, it's a great theater program. It's not impossible to get into, but it's also not easy to get into. Yada yada yada. What they all say.
We're here.
I get early admission, thankfully. So,
I associate all of those things with somebody's trying to warn you. Just be like, hey, just so you know, it's whether it's a bad or good reason. It's hey, just so you know. No. And if we listen, we listen. I remember my very first experience with what I consider my guardian angel. I was 5 or 6. I was 6 years old. I was in first grade. I was at my older brother's soccer match with my mom. We're sitting on our lawn chairs. We're watching. This voice comes inside my head and says, "Hey, Kristen, go pick the dandelions that are directly behind your chair." So as a 6-year-old, I go, I'm going to go pick those dandelions right behind my chair. As soon as I get behind my chair, bend over to pick them, a soccer ball wails into my chair. That was my first experience that I absolutely remember of somebody who was like, hey, I'm going to try and protect you right now, so if you listen to me. And it was, I didn't think anything of it because I was 6. But as I got older, I'm like, holy shit, somebody was trying to protect me.
On the note of guardians, and I don't know how I forgot about this one because it's like the most big one, but the day that I had my aorta rupture, I was not scheduled to work that day. It was the day before Christmas Eve, and I was not scheduled to work. It was an optional day. I wasn't going to get up and go to work, but something in my brain was just like, go get the extra hours, go to work. So I went to work. We all obviously know what happened after that, but there definitely had to be somebody looking out because had I not...
That was the guardian.
Yeah, had I not gone to work, I would have been completely alone in my apartment when that happened.
Yeah, absolutely a guardian. I mean, guardian angel, guardian spirit, guardian past family member, whatever. Your guardian's like, no, you need to go to work.
You should go to work. You think about going to get those extra hours. Just go to work.
Yeah. I'm going to make it your idea, but you're going to go to work.
Yeah. To this day, they make you think it's your idea. But, to this day, I have no idea why I decided on my day off to voluntarily go to work the day before Christmas Eve, which was a Sunday. Who wants to go to work on a Sunday the day before Christmas? But for some reason, I was like, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. Let's go.
You guys have a lovely rest of the chat. I look forward to next week. Bye, everybody. Yep, this is all for Joshua. Nobody else. Screw you guys.
I just made a weird correlation in my brain because I was thinking about earlier how we were talking about with the Romans, and if you break a mirror, it's 7 years of bad luck, blah, 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 or whatever the thing was.
Yeah.
I have a mirror, like a door mirror. I have had this mirror since I was 10 years old. It has one crack in it, so there's 2 pieces of mirror. And I just think that's kind of funny, given my whole situation. That I have one mirror that I've had my whole life that has one crack, so now there's 2 pieces of mirror. And one corner is this big, and the rest is the whole mirror.
Well, I'm going to wish everybody a happy night, because I'm over here going night-night.
Have a good night.
All right.
Likewise, I'm getting pretty sleepy myself, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.
I think we're just going to stop it here. I think it was a great conversation.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
keep
Thank
the
you,
comments
everyone.
coming,
Thank you
and
for
we'll-
all the new topics, too. We'll
Yeah,
definitely look into those and plan those.
Yeah.
Night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.